So if I can ask Caroline to step forward into the hot seat. The stage is yours. 15 minutes on This House believes that the research does actively promote and encourage creativity and innovation.
So, the honest truth is I've never done a debate before, so I did some PowerPoint slides and I was laughed. So I'm standing, just not played creative.
Death by PowerPoint.
Death by PowerPoint, so that doesn't really, that shoots me in the foot before I even start. So, starting point that I wanted to get to basically is about nurturing and fostering and set them free, and you'll see where I get to at the end. But the fact that creativity, innovation and creative work is largely rubbished by research is, I think, a myth put about by agencies who frankly create crap work, and they have it coming. And they're shooting the messenger. So the whole myth that's out there, I would contend, is a bit wrong. The agencies are out there to feather their own nests, push their own agendas, get their own awards, go to Cannes, and not much more. So what we're doing is basically saving the public from them. Creatives that I know have said, actually, if you look at it the other way around, market research, the fact that market research is out there to look at their ideas and their campaigns actually makes them less safe, because they can go to a client and say, look, we've got the backing of research, we've got this, we've got that, so they can push their ideas forward further than they might otherwise. They might sense and sort of step into the background. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that we do a lot more. I mean, the big thing that comes out is Apple don't research, so therefore QED is all rubbish. If they can do it, then they don't need it. But actually Apple do. It's been all over the Wall Street Journal for quite a while now, and they do. My argument, I think, is that it's our role to create a framework. So we create framework, we set out parameters so that creatives and innovators can go out and do their stuff. And my argument, I think, is what I feel we're doing more of is earlier in the process. So we're doing insights, we're doing frameworks, we're doing models, we're understanding brand personalities, and then we're letting them free to do their best. I do think that if you let them completely free and you have this completely untrammeled creative or innovative process, you get complete rubbish. The two things I wanted to show you on my PowerPoint slides were the Sinclair C5, which we've laughed at for years, as in the spirit of untrammeled sort of innovation, knowing what we want without asking us, and it all going horribly wrong. And the Muller advert from this summer, or last summer. Has anybody seen the Muller advert, The Wonderful Life? Which cost them £20 million and bombed in about 2 weeks.
The two women on the
it was everything. It mixed in everything. It just had no insight. It had, it made me very angry. It was profligate. It spent everything. It bought rights. It spent 20 million, and it lasted probably 3 weeks in cinemas and on the TV. So that, I think, is an example of they didn't have any framework. They just went out and they spent money and they did their stuff, and they didn't think about who they were doing it for, why they were doing it, what people were receptive to, or what the barrier or the parameters were. So, she goes on. I had all my charts. Anyway, so research, a bit like architects talking about small spaces. I think research can be most effective when it's got challenges to overcome, and that is where research comes in. So if you take examples of where we find a nugget and they work on it, then you get to better results. My better results I wanted to show you lovely pictures of are, say, Cravendale. Cravendale Cats with Opposable Thumbs is one of my winning arguments of creativity helped by research. Cravendale, have you seen Cravendale Cats with Opposable Thumbs? So the cats going mad for milk, and they're walking around, and what if cats evolved and they had opposable thumbs, they'd get the milk, what can we do, kind of stuff. The thing about milk, the thing that I've done a lot of milk research, oddly enough, and the needs and the motivations behind milk are very difficult, because you cannot rubbish milk. It is a staple of our life. It is a staple of the dairies who produce 90% of ordinary milk and 10% of differentiated milk, be it organic, be it iron-rich, be it whatever. You cannot rubbish it, and consumers in their hearts cannot rubbish milk. So how do you get around it? What do you do? So the innovation that came out of research is that you have to just allude to quality without talking about quality. And kitties growing opposable thumbs to come and get it is the way they did it. and it's a leap that came from research. If they didn't understand, they didn't have the insight that a consumer can, you know, a person in their heart cannot rubbish milk, any milk, they couldn't have got there. I mean, the other one I would point out is compare the meerkats.com, which again comes from research. Compare the market.com, compare the meerkat.com. So if you go back to the research for that, they had nothing. They were last to market. They had nothing to differentiate themselves. They had a crap name. They had a boring category, and nobody was interested. So research turns that round and said, okay, it's a boring category. We want to choose one, and how do we do it? And the outcome was they need permission to go to one versus another. They're bored, it's cold, there's no energy. So they had to make them love the category. And make them love the category was the key to going out and finding something completely off the wall. So that was, I think, the insight behind that. We all deal in insights, and I know we all know what they mean, but I think the key argument, and one I've got from Philips actually, is it's that the brand can demonstrate that you understand me, which is something that doesn't come out of a creative's head, it doesn't come out of an innovator's head. It comes out of understanding the needs, the motivations, and everything else. So that's it really. Emotion-wise, I don't know how I'm doing for time. I haven't timed this.
Fine.
So when you've got the insights, the other thing that we're doing more and more of, and I do think because we're going back in the process, not just testing storyboards and everything else, is emotions. And I don't think creatives in their, you know, their sort of, you know, ego-rich creative environments and pool tables, whatever they do, you know, can really get to grips with different nuances for different tribes. And now it's digital, I think it's even more important because the needs of different tribes are smaller, more individual, different, and you've got to get that if you're going to actually make something that's relevant to them. So I think that's growing. But the fact that it's about sort of setting out emotions, not just testing an ad, is where we come in. I'm going to be too short. So yes, anyway, so if you talk about ads and creative insight that gives us the springboard to let the creatives go out and do their own thing. That's one point. In terms of innovation and products, you probably can't see this, but it is the marvel of the modern world, and it's brand new, and it's taking most of our worlds by storm. Maybe not everybody in this room, but it is the big hair from Babyliss. And word of mouth is selling it hand over fist, and the innovation here is... The innovation here is that the innovation has come from knowing the convenience of having 2 or 3 products, that women struggle, that women want this, that women want that. And the 2 innovations here, first they've made a product that does 2 jobs in one. So it gives us convenience, it gives us big hair, which we obviously all want. And it's borrowed cues from a completely different sector to do it. So this, and it's selling itself by word of mouth like you wouldn't believe. This is apparently the hot thing at the moment. I didn't know this myself, like Lucian clearly didn't either. But this is the hot thing, and this is a direct outcome of market research, of in-homes, of understanding usage, problems, and all the rest of it, but actually the emotions behind it. Hence, they borrowed from a beauty category, not a hair category. It's a promise, it's not a functionality, it's not a speed, it's a big hair, and big hair, everything that gets Cheryl, it will get you, basically. So that's where that comes from. The other area of innovation I wanted to talk to was the fact, and I know everybody will say, a lot of innovation is product-led, and of course you've got to have a product, but the role of us as researchers is to foster that creativity. You might have a product, you've then got to find a person to sell it to, so you've got to identify them, and then you've got to find a way of selling it. And the other one I wanted to put forward is Philips Lumea, which you may or may not have heard of. But it's something, I have a picture, it is, I have my picture, let me show you. This is the ad. So they have a product that will do hair removal for you. Intensive pulse lighting, which they're selling with sort of fairies hanging out of the sky, giving you light. Very sort of Vatican ceiling and everything else. All gentle, all lovely. And the point is, this comes from IPM, which is a medical device it's really quite dangerous. It can cause epilepsy, it can cause this, it can cause that. It mustn't be used on every type of thing. But you find the technological solution. You help the technological people say, yes, actually we can sell it in boots. Then you have to find somebody who's going to buy it. Men, women, whoever else. And then you turn around and promise it's going to say, well, actually it's not scary, it's not going to give you epilepsy, and it is going to work. So that, I think, in terms of creativity, well, innovation, first of all, you've got to drag it from hard-edge medical stuff into boots, is something that was achieved, again, through research and then positioning it. So that was my example, which you can't really see because I've got charts. And that's finally, I do think that it's changing. I do think that I'm saying innovation is all about research. I mean, research, I don't think, is done by us anymore. It's done by everybody. So the big things at the moment with sort of collaboration, consumer connections or co-creation or whatever, it's everybody who's doing it, which makes it all the more valuable and all the more, you know, innovation is not just about researchers anymore. But while the research itself, it's not all coming from us. It's the one ground I would concede that it is changing. So the boundaries are blurring, people are doing different things, but the fact of research to drive this innovation and to drive this change is still constant over time. So I think that's true also in the digital world, as I said. So everything's talking about that. That, I think, is very true, that we need more of it, not less. My sense, this may be wrong, is that they're putting more stuff out there to fly on its own and fail. But actually the hard core of a brand or of a product needs more work because they can go wrong so quickly. And the disasters that people have on the internet, or the triumphs like the Bodyform or what have you, makes it all the more clear that it's about what research can do and guide. That's really my argument. So in terms of this house contends that research promotes creativity and innovation, but I think it's, I don't think it can be denied, can it?